Phil Cahiwat, of course, is one of our speakers. We have a tandem talk for this afternoon. Phil Cahiwat is part of Level Up. He is the Chief Content Officer of Level Up International Holdings Limited. He's one of the founders, actually, of Level Up and joined the company in 2003. He is responsible for fueling creativity for programs needed to grow the online game business in new markets. And he's primarily responsible for coordinating all content acquisition activities of Level Up, which means all of the games that we play, he's part of the group that chooses that. So kung bakit nauubos yung mga panahon at oras ninyo, siya rin yung may kasalanan. Previously worked with leading New York-based retailers, Jones New York, Ralph Lauren, Marvel Comics, and MTV. The next speaker is Mr. Gabby Dizon. He's the founder and CEO of Flipside Games, a studio specializing in flash and web-based games. He's also the president of the Game Developers Association of the Philippines, or GDAP, and a passionate advocate of growing the game development industry in the Philippines. Now, I especially like the title of their talk, Why Not Play With Yourself? I always believe that playing with others is better. But, well, why not play with yourself, mga kaibigan? Our game gurus, Phil Cahiwat and Gabby Dizon.
Hey, good afternoon. My talk today is not about the gamer tribe per se, but more about defining certain motivations of the gamers and the tools we use to create community. So yeah, I wanted that above my name on the video when it shows up on the website. But actually, this is just a start of. It's just one of the motivations, which is identity and experimenting with identity, and this is one of the things that makes online game communities unique. What I actually meant, though, is if you can, is why not play with yourself? Self being identity. These are just some of the games that my company launched in the last 5 years. And all of these have their own tribes. Just to give you a quick background, I should time this, 9 minutes. What we're going to talk about is MMORPGs, because these are the most conducive to community building. An MMORPG is an online role-playing game. This is where you create an avatar and adventure in a persistent world. And there are thousands of players logged on at the same time. Right now, across all games, 70,000 people all playing at the same time. And you need to realize that within this game, the game mechanics really motivate both cooperative and competitive play and interaction between players. And they all reside in this persistent world. What I mean by persistent is this world exists and evolves and is impacted by your play. And it exists whether you're in it or not, just as the real world it continues to go on whether you're asleep or not, or dead. So like I said, most of this talk is about defining the motivation of your target audience and then creating or manipulating the tools that are available to bring people together. One aspect of identity that is really important is anonymity. Anonymity negates the negative effects of self-consciousness. So you are more likely to get into a conversation or talk to someone you don't know, whether you're asking for directions or just chatting someone up. Actually, let me just go back one point. You're really protected by anonymity in a game. So shyness and embarrassment are almost completely gone. You can always log off if you get really embarrassed. Experimentation. Expectation based on gender, age, and appearance are gone as well. So people have an opportunity to try to be something else, something more than they, or more or less, than they actually are. And just as part of this experimentation is immortality. So failure without the burden of accountability. If you're not going to die, you will dedicate yourself to a task. And if you dedicate yourself to a task, you will try different methods to complete it. And then once you complete the task, because you have all the experience, you become proficient in this task. So immortality and identity, these things go together because it gets you into this habit of experimentation. And it keeps people social. Another interesting thing about identity within an online space is it's much easier to gain recognition. One, because of the community is fairly small, and two, because reputation and celebrity are based mostly on competence and personality, rather than wealth or the opportunities that are available. So we take the next step. We have defined this motivation of the player. Now I just want to show you the tools that we use to create this community. So the game mechanics really encourage meeting new people. Your success within the game actually depends on it. So the game is built in such a way that interdependence is necessary. For example, there's a priest class. You can play a priest, or you can play a warrior, or you can play an archer. And you need the skills of all these different characters to be successful. I'm just showing as one example, a mage, for example, can give buffs or ports. What this means is they can make you stronger. They can put a spell on you that makes you stronger. Or they can port you, which is you can travel long distances without having to actually traverse the terrain. And you need to talk to people. You need to negotiate. You need to interact to take advantage of these things, which will benefit you. The game has high-level quests and dungeons, and what happens here is you need to talk to other people and convince them to help you out. And this goes a long way in creating community. There's even functions in the game where you can look for groups who have not yet, which are open, pick-up groups. Another thing that really encourages community among a group of people is economy. And with the finite resources within the game, such as items like armor or weapons, it encourages trade between the players, which creates value for the entire community. And one interesting thing that video games do, or online games do, is they give you almost no instruction on how to play. And what this does, actually, this is by design, because people are forced to ask other people who have had prior experience to get together. So there's a lot of mentors. And so new players talk to old players to learn about experiences in the game. So now we can reinforce the community created by these tools. Usually in a community, participation is key. But unlike in a body modification tribe or alternative music tribe, you don't need to get pierced. You don't need to know how to play a guitar. All you have to do is log in. Just you being in the world contributes to the community. cooperation, as I said, with these high-level quests, the cooperation is really key because you need the teamwork to succeed. And even in a competitive situation, the individual is thinking about his teammates rather than beating the other guy. Another thing that reinforces community is demonization. For example, you know, Apple users don't like PC. We don't need to do that because in the game we have actual demons. So this really encourages an us versus them mentality, which in turn really strengthens identity to the community. And as I've said before, economy. Now I got to burn through the last minute. Sorry. And of course, is all this community is built on a shared experience, which really unbinds relationships from traditional constraints. For example, a lot of communities are built on music or an opinion about something. This is just having experienced the same thing at the same time. Now the community then can in turn continue community efforts outside of the game. They do this through websites. Some are instructional, and these are all community driven. They have websites based on just the guild, or maybe even just a certain character. And this is all players helping each other out. They even share experiences through art and humor, because this gives them a common experience that they can both relate to. The other thing the players do themselves is hold eyeballs and events. So you go from in-game, having developed these very real relationships, to building actual relationships outside of the in-game world. And then your guild or tribe is part of a much bigger community, which are all gamers in general. So what this combination of the motivation of identity and experimentation combined with the tools that are built into the game, it's reorganizing relationships. Because now kids can become mentors to adults. And they get this experience of leadership and create strong intergenerational relationships. And gender roles can, of course, be reversed. We've had there's a story in the USRO where a female character and a male character spent many years adventuring together. They decided to get married in real life. Sight unseen. They met at the church. The male character turned out to be a female, which was okay because the male character was, the female character was a guy as well. They just both happened to be bisexual. So it worked out. And then, of course, socioeconomic, geographical, and racial barriers are destroyed because you have no idea who that other person is. All you know is their personality. So I'm going to pass the mic over to my man, Gabby.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gabby Dizon, and I come from a company called Flipside Games. Okay, I represent a tribe of game developers, or people who create their own games. And I'm here to ask you the question, why not create your own fantasy? So very, very short background about myself. Video games have ruined my life. They've been ruining my life since I was around 3 years old. When my dad came home with a Commodore VIC-20, which he bought at Radio Shack coming from the US for $100. And there were no computer shops back then, so you had to buy it at a toy store. And since then, I've been growing up with the game industry. And if I see smiles on your face here, you probably played some of these games. Like, look at Bam here, he's smiling. So he's probably played all of this, and I've grown with the video game industry. And we're sort of the same age, so we hang out. We're good friends. We play all the time. And we've seen the game industry mature from the old Pac-Man days, the old Mario days, to Doom when I was a teenager, and to now where you have these really big MMOGs, which didn't happen before. So I've been playing games for a long, long time. And if you're really hardcore game player, you get to wonder, what are the companies behind my favorite games? And at the same time, who are those people who are behind those companies? So people like Richard Garriott, who created Ultima 7, Peter Molyneux, who created Fable, John Carmack of id Software, Chris Avallone of Obsidian Entertainment. These are the guys, when I was growing up, that became my heroes. And so I was still playing games throughout college. I graduated, got a real job, and when I graduated, there was no game industry, so I had to go out and get a real job, and I did programming for the Inquirer website. But all that time, I was doing programming, I was doing websites. Every day, I was asking myself, when could the day come that I could make my own games? And through a weird twist of fate, one day, there was an article in the Inquirer about the first ever game company in the Philippines. So because of the company I was working in, I knew there was a game company, and I quit my job. And in 2003, I joined a tribe of 6 other people like myself who were the first game developers in the Philippines. Never made a game before, everyone under 25, didn't know shit, but we were all here for one purpose, and that was to create the first Filipino-made game. And that was when Anito was born. So these were very trying times, also very fun times. Again, we didn't know what we were doing. There was no one to ask around in the Philippines. So it was through a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, and long, long delays that we finally got the game out. But we did get the game out, and it was released in November of 2003. Being a small company, we packed the boxes ourselves. The day before the game was supposed to go out, we spent a whole night, overnight, no sleeping, just putting stickers on the boxes, putting the CD keys, and I had to take the MRT to ship the boxes to Data Blitz myself. But it was all cool. So it was released in November 2003. PLDT recognized it, and we had an awesome launch party. We enrolled it at the Independent Games Festival in the which is sort of like the Sundance Film Festival for games. And through a stroke of luck, we got into the finals. We won an award for innovation in audio, and that put Philippines on the map as far as game development is concerned. So now, there's much more happening in games. It's no longer one company. We have at least 10 companies that are featured here, all doing games, and there are more, maybe around 25 people overall. And they're doing all sorts of games. They're doing mobile games, iPhone games, arcade games, PC games, Nintendo Wii games. And some of the games you see here, these are all either partly or fully done in the Philippines. And yeah, and one of the artists is even here in this room right now. Yeah. So Filipinos have always been a very creative people. We've been very good at animation. Animation has been here for more than 20 years in the Philippines. We're good entertainers. We're very good comic book artists, aren't we, Jonas? Yeah, see? We're very good comic book artists. So we've always had that creative talent. And now, through the tools and technology that are available here in the Philippines, you can create your own games right here. You can be an writer or an artist or a programmer, and you don't have to leave the country to become a game developer. And our dream is to really have the Philippines known as a place where people make games in the same way that maybe Japan is known for karaoke and TVs. And when people hear about the Philippines, you want people to know that, okay, that's a country where people make games. And to that, for that goal, we established this association called the Game Developers Association of the Philippines. So what we're doing is we're working to grow the game industry. It's around 500 people right now, and we want to grow it to 5,000 and beyond. We want to do not just outsourcing, but creating original content. And we're working with schools so that there are actually courses for game development in the Philippines. So now if you go to certain schools, if there's no BS in game development, there might be electives towards game writing, game programming, or 3D art, 2D, and it's all happening here. So if you're interested in making your own games, why not join us and create your own fantasy? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabby and Phil.